redefining discrimination in Colorado. Medical marijuana gets the go-ahead to board planes, briefly. Senator Bennett stands in front of an oncoming train called the filibuster, and fellow Democrats show no sign of slowing down. We find out why Jeffco Schools is throwing away dumpsters full of books. Colorado's last Republican Party leader warns the GOP against making a big mistake. Failing a parking test outside the DMV. And the most Colorado house we saw today. Next. Let's talk about how we define discrimination. Not how you or I define discrimination, how we as a state define discrimination. A Republican state senator thinks Colorado needs to distinguish between discrimination and the right to disagree. See if you agree. When Masterpiece Cake Shop in Lakewood refused to sell a cake to a couple for a same-sex wedding, the courts ruled the bakery violated Colorado's anti-discrimination law. Pesky law. State Senator Kevin Lundberg, a Republican, has an idea.
This is not meant to change the discrimination laws in the state, but it is meaning to clarify as to where the line should be drawn.
It would change the law, all right, to allow a decision like the one made at the cake shop. It even says there, clarify discrimination and right to disagree.
That's what we're looking for, is the clarity necessary to allow discrimination to operate without unnecessarily walking onto the freedom of conscience that every citizen should possess as well.
It's a freedom of religious conscience bill. Conservatives are calling for them across America. This one does not specifically mention religious freedom, but Lundberg's intent is clear.
If a business owner says, I make wedding cakes, and somebody walks in and says, I want a wedding cake for something that you don't consider to be a valid wedding, then I believe the business owner needs to be able to say, I do wedding cakes for weddings. That's what a wedding cake is. I don't believe, by my values, that this is a wedding cake.
These laws can have wide-ranging impacts. The NCAA just ended its boycott of North Carolina when the state backed off its so-called bathroom bill that restricted transgender people from using bathrooms that correspond to their gender identity. The NCAA also considered boycotting Indiana when then-Governor Mike Pence signed a religious freedom bill into law there.
I'm well aware that there has been some real overreaction when some states have gone down roads similar to this. I want it to be crystal clear that we are talking about not discrimination, but the freedom of conscience that even a business owner should have.
Lundberg says his bill also protects non-religious disagreements, like when Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus ditched Ivanka Trump's brand. Chances are this bill isn't going anywhere. Democrats are likely to kill it in the House, but we thought it was a debate worth highlighting here. A jury in Denver today convicted 3 people while offering out loud in court to pay if the defendants got fined. The defendants were found guilty of violating the city's camping ban, which mainly impacts the homeless. Activists say that ban cruelly targets people who are just trying to sleep on the streets. The city maintains it's needed for safety. The defendants, in the end, didn't get sentenced to fines. They got community service. Colorado's Democratic Senator Michael Bennet is the only senator who refuses to say whether he'll vote to confirm Colorado's Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court. Tonight, Bennet spoke on the Senate floor saying that Gorsuch is qualified and he deserves an up or down vote, a vote that is expected to be blocked by Senator Bennett's fellow Democrats.
This is precisely the outcome our founders feared when lifetime appointments to our highest court, which touches every aspect of American life, become just another partisan exercise. We must not go down this road.
Bennett is obviously talking about not just the filibuster, but also the Republican threat to invoke the nuclear option and change Senate rules. We've invited Senator Bennett on next to explain his views on Gorsuch, the filibuster, and the nuclear option, and our offer still stands if he's up for a few questions and a chance to talk directly to all of you. Time for today's check. Does Attorney General Jeff Sessions still hate marijuana? Is Colorado's cannabis culture still in the crosshairs? Yes, of course it is. What are we talking about? AG Sessions just today announced a new task force to review marijuana enforcement nationwide and then report back to him with recommendations by the end of July. So for one brief and glorious moment today, medical marijuana was legal on planes across America. But just as the TSA giveth, the TSA toketh away. The brief change happened on the TSA's popular What Can I Bring website. That's where you go to check to see if you can carry on an axe, corkscrew, dynamite, ice skates, tennis rackets, or tear gas. For the record, the answers are no, yes, no, yes, yes, no. Medical marijuana has always been a no as well, until this morning when it changed to yes. Someone at the Mass Roots Weed website apparently just sits there day and night refreshing the TSA page, waiting for that glorious moment when your pot is free to move about the country. The TSA quickly harshed the memo, changed it back to no, and tweeted, "We're sorry for any confusion. A mistake was made." We checked with the airport, and marijuana, medical marijuana or happy fun time marijuana, has not been, is not, and never was legally allowed on planes or even on airport property.
I'm Steve Stapler. Our next question comes from Lisa. She emailed 9 News yesterday. As I was leaving Westwoods Elementary School in Arvada, I passed a recycling dumpster full of library books. As I looked closer, I saw that most were in excellent condition, as you can see in the pictures. Is it common practice in Jefferson County schools?
We all love books around here, so yes, that does seem like a shame. So I called the district to see what the deal was.
I think I feel the same way everybody else felt, where you're like, oh, geez, books in the recycle bin, really?
Hard not to have that reaction, but if you were to look at that photo through the eyes of a librarian, you'd see...
Some of the books in the dumpster, for example, were over 20 years old.
Diana Wilson isn't a librarian, but she speaks for Jeffco Public Schools, and she spoke to librarians in the district before she talked to us.
You know, we're a public school system, so with not a lot of money, so we use our books as much as we can. If we're getting rid of books, there's probably a pretty good reason. So if it isn't good enough for us, do we really want somebody using it to educate other children?
So here's Jeffco's policy. When a book is past its prime, librarians determine whether it's usable, aka is it in good condition? Is the information right? If it is, they put it online to see if another school can use it. If no one grabs it, the district can donate the books to students, parents, or the public. If the book is unusable, say the pages have been ripped out or it says Pluto is still a planet, that's when the district can recycle the book.
There are still some books that are just unwanted for whatever reason or unusable, and they will be recycled.
Jeffco used to have a vendor that took care of those unwanted books in the past, either refurbishing or selling them, donating them, or recycling them.
We can no longer secure a contractor to do that because there's just not a big enough demand for books, and it wasn't profitable for them.
Now, Jeffco is still searching for a new vendor, so if you know someone, we did ask around, and this seems to be a standard for books and libraries at schools.
Stevie and the TV, good to have you back. Today, another Republican joined what is expected to be a crowded primary field for governor. District Attorney George Brockler is in. Coloradans opened up these primaries to unaffiliated voters through an amendment on last year's ballot. And the man who led the Republican Party up until a week ago, Steve House, told me today that the Republican Party would be foolish to opt out of those new open primaries. The party could skip the open primary and have party loyalists pick the candidate through the caucus and assembly process. But House says that would be a big mistake.
If you opt out, then you're delivering a message that you are not interested so much in what the voters have said. And the voters pay for primaries. They decided they wanted this to happen. I think the parties have to embrace that reality.
Open primaries in other states have led to more moderate Republicans and more moderate Democrats making the general election. House tells me he actually thinks the opposite thing might happen in Colorado, that crowded primaries could allow more extreme candidates to win if they can lock onto their committed base. In a moment, we'll discuss some of the unconventional candidates for governor that intrigue House.
It started with the lampposts
And he kept going until he ran out of paint. The forecast for the Rockies home opener is another reminder.
Baseball's here.
If you want to credibly call in sick, you need to start sniffling tomorrow. None of us got invited to the most Colorado party we've ever seen. The DMV can be hard. Parking at the DMV can be harder. Next. The first person to receive a first-of-its-kind prosthetic is a retired Army sergeant who lost part of his left leg in Iraq. We meet him and the Presbyterian St. Luke's surgeon who felt especially connected to his case through the lens of photojournalist Brian Wendland.
When I knew my left leg was missing was about a minute after the explosion. I was still trying to do my job and whatnot, and I realized my leg became a lot lighter for no reason whatsoever. A lot of yelling, a lot of chaos, a lot of dust in the air, a lot of smoke, a lot of pain. It's combat.
6 weeks ago, we developed and performed a new implant for a patient, Jace Badia. He's been wearing a socket for the last 10 years, but not very effectively.
They were all, cumbersome and annoying.
He was looking for a different solution, and the idea behind this is that it's a post that goes into the thigh bone and then goes through the skin, and then you can directly connect that to the prosthetic foot or leg. It has a collar of material that's porous metal, so actually there's an area where the skin can grow into and seal against it and resist infection. And that's the first of its kind that's been done here that I'm aware of in the world.
I fire the quads, I fire the hamstrings, the leg goes where I want it to, just like a regular leg. This is as close to natural as you can get right now with our technology.
Right, I served in the wars both in Iraq and Afghanistan as a military surgeon, so I saw first line soldiers coming back with mostly with amputations.
The fact that he's got more than just surgical time in a standard hospital, and he's actually had his boots where my boots were, there's a lot of joint respect from that. It took 8 months for me to walk in a prosthetic after the amputation originally. And here I am 6 weeks post-surgery, and I'm already walking.
A beautiful spring day here in Colorado. I'm meteorologist Kathy Sabin. Clear skies, light winds, temperatures warming. A lot of snowmelt today with afternoon highs in the mid-50s. We'll go 10 degrees warmer tomorrow, another 10 degrees warmer on Friday. Our storm, however, creating trouble as it plows off toward the east. St. Louis, Chicago, Cincinnati airport delays due to hail and wind, but it is a line of supercell tornadoes. These supercells are tracking outside of Atlanta, producing several large tornadoes in that area, along with heavy flooding rain and damaging wind. That system is headed toward the northeast while we enjoy high pressure here, a mild, dry weather pattern that'll carry us through the rest of this week and into the weekend. And we're welcoming home our Colorado Rockies on Friday. What a great day to be outdoors in the city with lots of sunshine and temperatures above average in the 70s. Tonight, temperatures just below freezing, clear and cool in the city. Tomorrow, a quick jump as the numbers reflect the southwest winds, which will increase in the afternoon. Low to mid 70s for both Friday and for Saturday. Another storm brings snow to the high country Sunday and a few showers here early part of next week. And such a pretty picture up over the higher terrain and right here along the Front Range and the Flatirons. Marcia Koser with this pretty sunrise picture.
Kathy, thanks. Republicans just cannot win races for governor in Colorado. Prior to Governor Bill Owens, who was elected first in 1999, Republicans had last elected a first-term governor in Colorado in 1963, Governor John Love. The last chairman of the state party, Steve House, just left office last week, says they must win the governor's race next year, and he has some ideas.
If we don't win the governor's race, it'll be 65 years, 64 years. We've only won twice. That just tells us that there's something wrong with how we position ourselves with an electorate that appears to be fairly conservative.
How do you find a winning candidate? There will be many Republicans in this field.
I think it's going to be a candidate that appeals to the unaffiliated voters. Ironically, we have a primary now where we're going to have unaffiliated voters in it. I think whoever comes out of that will probably be more ready to win the general election than if unaffiliated voters hadn't been part of it.
Who are you watching for?
There's going to be a number of business guys, right? So we've heard names like Jack Graham, Doug Robinson, Barry Farah, a few others, Kent Thiry and others that could run on the Republican side. It's going to be interesting to see how the more traditional politicians, Walker Stapleton, George Brockler, who announced today, versus the business guys play out. Any one of those business guys, especially in an era where Donald Trump won an election as a complete outsider, could surprise us.
All right, Steve House, wish you the best of luck in future endeavors. Are you ruling out a potential run for any office in the future, or just not this time?
No, I would not rule out a potential run, just not governor in 18.
Smart man. All right, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you, Kyle. Good to see you.
In my complete conversation with Steve House on the next YouTube page, we talk about the job that he's currently seeking with the Trump administration to work on health care policy. And he explains how he thinks Republicans went wrong pitching the repeal and replacement of the Affordable Care Act. Next is like one big house party celebrating Colorado. But let's break it down. First, the party.
People were just so grateful when they showed up.
And then the house. Oh, that's cool. We'll talk to the guy who dreamed this up next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is a sweet sledding party in Crested Butte. It's an annual thing. It started 3 years ago, and the planners spend about a week carving out this sledding course in a big backyard right near downtown. And then they invite the whole town for food and sledding. No sled, no problem. They'll provide extras so you can make the 30-second trip from top to bottom. We called up the party planners and asked how it came to be that Crested Butte hosts Colorado's best sledding party.
You know, we talked about building a sled luge course in the backyard, just something to have fun with the friends. You know, let's do this. Let's have this party that we talked about. Let's offer something to the community that's really fun. I would say our first year was probably only 50 people or so, and now it's definitely become a community event and it's fun for everybody. So, you know, that's something that we're really stoked about. Simply put, it's in the backyard downtown Crested Butte. It's a backyard party, you know, it's built by the people for the people of Crested Butte.
There's a guy riding a keg, I believe. Party's usually the last week of March, and that is the most Colorado thing we saw today. But actually, we might have to call it a tie. A tie with a house that stands as a symbol for our state. Photojournalist Tom Cole heard about it from an ex-viewer, so he hit the road for Longmont.
It's an amazing neighborhood. I like fun. I mean, it's an amazing neighborhood, but the houses are really dull. My background is construction, and I've visited over 10, 15,000 houses, you know, that I've done work on, and not one has had a paint job like this. The 4th of July is absolutely my favorite. It started with the lampposts, and it came out pretty good. And then I decided to do the house a year later. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, I am not military. Both of my grandpas served in the Navy on either side of my mom and my dad. My mom was Air Force, my dad's Air Force. My older brother's Air Force. My younger brother Jonas is Army. Jaime is Army. I got my son going in to the Marines. And my sister's actually a security guard up there in Greeley. I love America. I love Colorado. Yeah, very proud of where I live, who I am. Yeah. My true inspiration is my 3 children. That's why I live. That's why I'm here in Colorado still. Or I'd probably be at the ocean fishing. Go Colorado, man. For real. Love this state.
Love that guy. News can be a compilation of all the horrible things that happened in a day, or we can make a little time to enjoy life's little absurdities, like the drivers who failed the parking test at the DMV in Golden. People who decided, I'll just carve out my own special spot. Shannon Stambro spotted this and noted that actually those folks may be going next door to the pot shop instead of the DMV. It's a soggy sign that's in the right place. And your feedback next. It's a sign, and it is a very fitting one on a soggy day. Doug Anderson spotted it at the Douglas County Transportation Center. Motor pool, it says. Yes, indeed, I suppose that would be a motor pool. Send us the signs that catch your eye. Email next at 9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. We finish with your feedback as always. Katie appreciates the fact that we refer to it today as Happy Fun Time Marijuana. We do need to distinguish between medical marijuana and legal recreational, but there's nothing enjoyable about the phrase legal recreational marijuana, so we'll keep experimenting. Vicki Schwartz says happy 8th anniversary next. So nice to hear news that's not scripted. I enjoy the show. Thank you, Vicki. And Rich Gregus says happy hippo birthday. 8-month gestation period. Let's go for the velvet worm birthday next. I Googled that, Rich. That's 15 months. I think we can make it, but only if you see us next time.